Coming up this week on Sporting Journal Radio.
I haven't seen bird numbers this good in a long time.
On Bret right now, there's a lot of walleyes, a lot of nice walleyes. I mean, I can't tell you how many pictures I've seen with the International Bridge in the background.
I did want to tell you, Mr. Underbite, we've gotten him about, it's 6 times now this year. So 3 times that week you guys were up.
I fish, I hunt, and always will. Broadcasting from the Prairie Sportsman Studios. Presented by OnX. Know where you stand with OnX. We're not just a radio show anymore.
Heck yeah.
This is Sporting Journal Radio. All right, you could argue that October's a pretty good month out of the year, but I think I like November better. It is, it's all happening now. Deer hunting is going strong. The rut is going on. If you can climb into a tree with a stick and a string, or you can go out there and start chasing them around with a gun. If you want a pheasant hunt, that's going well. To me, the waterfowl migration is just starting to heat up, at least where I'm at. And fishing is good. You can chase grouse around. We're going to talk grouse hunting, grouse numbers, upland hunting, deer hunting. Actually going to talk all sorts of stuff with Ben Brettingen from OnX. We're also going to find out how you can get 30% off all meat products for the next 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a pretty good deal. We'll find out with Ben how that works coming up in just a little bit. We're going to show you how you can get that discount and not trespass at the same time. How about that? Yeah, exactly. Also, we'll find out how to catch muskies in the fall with Randin Olson. In fact, Randin's going to check in the boat with clients right now, right after catching a 48-inch muskie. We'll talk to Randin and find out how he's doing it and see if we can't get interrupted by another muskie on the podcast coming up here in a little bit. And Joe Henry will give us an update from the Rainy River and start talking about early ice at Lake of the Woods here coming up later in the show. Dan, who are this week's sponsors?
Haybale Heights Campground and Resort on Devil's Lake. Book a trip to Devil's Lake at haybeleheights.com. Ottertail Lakes Country. Find your inner otter at ottertaillakescountry.com. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital. Plan a trip for this fall or winter at lakeofthewoodsmn.com. OnX, know where you stand with OnX. And Prairie Sportsman, watch episodes anytime at the Prairie Sportsman YouTube channel or check your TV guide for air times.
Looking for winter adventure? Might as well pick a place with over 1,000 lakes. Ottertail County, Minnesota is in the middle of everywhere, offers a simpler pace, and has something for everyone. Find your inner otter at ottertaillakescountry.com.
Well, it's absolutely hands down the best time of the year. I love November. October has been a favorite month, but I think I like November a little bit more as long as things don't freeze up right away and we can extend our waterfowl season quite a ways into November. And as I get older, Dan, I'm learning that to enjoy fall the most, to get the most out of my hunting seasons, you have to have the right tools for the job. And I'll tell you what, one tool that's been just handy in every situation has been the OnX Hunt app. And to talk more about OnX and talk about bird hunting and other stuff revolving around the outdoors, Ben Brettingen from OnX joins us right now. Ben, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Life is good. Busy, ready to go.
Yeah. Well, and I wanted to tell you one quick story because Dan brought this point up many, many times. And, you know, I've got some spy point cameras up around the property. Twice now I've caught trespassers back there. And, you know, I give those guys the benefit of the doubt. Like, hey, sometimes lines are hard to see. You know, I'll give them a chance to explain themselves. If they flat out say, yep, I knew I was trespassing, then it's a different story. And one of them did talk to law enforcement because they crossed multiple properties to get to mine. So they ended up having a little chat. They didn't get a ticket or anything, and they apologized and up and down. But Dan, as you said, all you have to do is get the OnX app, and you'll know exactly where you are nowadays. There's no excuse to trespass anymore, Ben.
No reason at all. I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where, yeah, in the past, it's like, yeah, kind of lines are a little bit soft, but nowadays for $30 or, use the discount code, it's 20-some bucks. Like, and you know what's private, what's public, and there's just no excuse for it anymore.
I mean, that's I use it a lot to find public land to hunt or to track down landowners. But I don't know how many times I've walked on public pieces, big tracts of public land, where I'm back in the middle of nowhere and I can't see. It looks like there hasn't been another soul in this part of the world for centuries. I'm back in the middle of nowhere, and I'm like, am I still on public land? I'll pull up my phone and check the app just to make sure I'm there. So it's just such a handy tool. It's a peace of mind tool, really, when you're out there, stomping around on the ground chasing birds or whatever you're doing, especially on big pieces, just to make sure you're not on the wrong property. So it's handy. And I tell you, got that some of those elite deals right now. One that caught my attention going on right now is 30% off products at Meat. They got a new grinder that does a double grind. Did you see that one, Ben?
Yeah, I did.
And it's 30% off the entire everything, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's you're as an elite member from OnX, you get early access to their Black Friday sales. So some of those things are going to be hot ticket items. So might as well get them while they still have them in stock. So I've been using a bunch of stuff from Meat this year. If you haven't tried their commercial vac sealer, they came out with a oilless version. It's way lighter than a traditional vac sealer, a little bit more portable. I carried that thing up to Lake of the Woods with me for fishing trips, and I use that thing all the time. They've got a ton of great stuff on there, so go check that out. If you go to onxmaps.com, go check out the elite membership area. A bunch of great deals. So
yeah, they make good products, and they're not cheap, but they're not going to break down. Like, I bought a vac sealer from a competitor about a year ago. It lasted me 1 month. And I'm an idiot. I threw out the receipt, so I couldn't even bring it back. So I was stuck with it. And I literally went on the Meat website that day and bought their vac sealer, spent some money on it, and it's been great. And I've been looking for a grinder, and 30%. So my point is you're spending a little bit of money. 30% is a good chunk of change off one of those. So that's a heck of a deal right there. And I got one of these, Ben. This just came in the mail. I haven't had a chance to use it yet.
Oh, I hear it back here. I think I already know what it is.
Yeah, let's see if I can hold it up.
Oh, yeah. The final rise.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out one of these days.
This is great radio.
Oh, yeah.
Guys listening on the radio think they're hit a dead zone.
Yeah, well, watch the podcast on YouTube. I hit you up before I bought this. I said, Ben, tell me about this vest that you can get, because I got it through OnX, through the elite membership deal. And you're like, it's the best one I've ever used.
Mm-hmm. I've used a bunch of different vests for upland hunting, and they all have their pluses and minuses, but the final rise so far has been just been fantastic. Made in the U.S. here. And there's little nitpicky things when you end up hunting birds as much as I do that it's like, man, this would be nice. This would be nice. So a lot of those things, I talked to Matt, the owner over at Final Rise, and he's like, yep, made some little changes, and it's a fantastic system.
Well, also deals from Upland Gun Company on there. I've seen you post about them quite a bit. I'm looking into getting some new boots. I saw 20% off lacrosse boots on there, 10% off Vortex. So a lot of deals, and that's just a handful of them that you can get the elite member benefits through OnX. So check it out. And I got one question. A buddy of mine asked me about this from OnX, and so I was digging into it to a little bit, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to have Ben on. I'm just going to ask him anyway. He's hunting some property from a landowner. He got permission to hunt a lot of acreage. And the landowner said, yep, anything of ours, just go ahead, feel free, hunt it. I mean, it's thousands of acres. So he's like, gosh, can I find a landowner and then somehow highlight all their property, like all their tracks? And I know you can kind of go in and do some different things. Is there any way where you could take a landowner and somehow just kind of highlight all the property that they own?
Yeah, I can pull up my old handy dandy OnX here on the computer.
I knew you'd have the answer. thought this would be a good one. So that way he can go from property to property, and he can just pull up his OnX app, and he can find out where, yep, I can go there. That'll work. I can go there. And I know there's different ways of doing some things, but I figured there'd be a handy way to do it through OnX as well.
Yeah, like it's something that's super easy. So like let's say for example, let me share my screen with you guys so you can see it. So I'm on the web map here, and let's just say, I can hunt a number of these different properties. So all you have to do is click and hit add to folder. I could say, hey, I'm going to create a new folder. This is, Billy's land that I can hunt. So I save it, and it's going to highlight that property. Let's say I can also, this is part of that. I can go click add to folder. Yep, this is Billy's stuff. I can also hunt, this over here. Same thing. You just keep adding it to the folder. So what it does is it'll highlight all this land that you can, that you have permission to hunt. So that's a, really easy. Also, you can share content via this. So if you're hunting with a buddy and you've got a bunch of waypoints, I can share that, all those markups with that person as well. So you can go ahead and hit share, and I could copy and paste that and email it or text it or whatever. So that's a super easy way just to add land and have it all highlighted so you know what you can and what you can't hunt.
Sure. And actually, that's kind of nicer than, say you could actually group landowners into that folder, or you could say, yeah, I can hunt this 40 here. I can hunt this 80 here. This is a good chunk of pub. Maybe you're going on a trip, and you could say, this is our November trip to North Dakota. Hey, Ben, we'll meet in North Dakota. These are the properties we're going to hunt. We can hunt, the Johnsons and the Smiths, and this is a really good public piece. You could put all those into a folder, and then I could share that with you.
Yeah, exactly. So even I had George Lyle, he was out in western North Dakota, and an area that I had driven through, and said, okay, I found a number of spots that looked good, and I just added them all to a folder really quick and shared them with George, and then he was able to go out and hunt them. So just streamline the process instead of texting individual waypoints, which you end up with a string of like 50 text messages. So this is a much simplified version of that.
That's very cool. Old George. So did you do some hunting in North Dakota this year?
I did. I just got back not too long ago from North Dakota. Did a little combo waterfowl and pheasant hunt. So,
man, I miss hanging birds next to those plot signs. I haven't hunted over there in a number of years now. May try to get over for waterfowl yet this year. But how is it for conditions? It's so dry here in Minnesota. How is it in North Dakota, and how are bird numbers?
It's definitely dry out there. It was a lot of sloughs that I haven't seen dry in a long time were dry. But at the same breath, this time of year, I actually don't mind it because it kind of concentrates birds early in the season when you're looking for, little areas to maybe, hunt a little slough or pothole or something like that. It's definitely tougher, but this time of year it congregates the birds, allows you to, run some unique spreads on water if you want, where you can put full body decoys along the shoreline, that kind of thing. So that's fun. But yeah, definitely dry. In terms of the bird numbers, we had that cold snap about a week ago out there. There was a bunch of snow in Saskatchewan and Manitoba, and that, we were expecting to see a bigger push of birds, but it really didn't come to fruition. It must not have got as cold up there as thought. So there's still a lot of birds north. I've heard people have been shooting them in Canada still. So, the next week or two, that's kind of when things I think are going to really kind of pop off over there.
Yeah, that cold front that's coming next week, I think that is going to push a lot of birds. I think it's going to be a good week for everybody. Good week for people deer hunting. Waterfowl, hopefully we'll get that push. That's usually when I expect it, is that first week or two in November. I feel like historically that's kind of the best migration for my part of the world anyway. That's when a good push of birds start coming through, and we could use it. don't have a ton of them, and I don't know if it's because it's so dry. We're just, again, the birds are concentrated on the big water, which is fine, but it gets pounded by hunters, so you got to get to the ramps early if you're going to hunt out of a boat, or a lot of times you got to get on the water and get in a boat to find some of those birds. So we could use a little bit of water. And Ben, though, when you are on the body of water and there aren't any other ponds or lakes around, everything else is dry, birds do want to get in there. They're congregated, and they want to get in there so bad that they fly while people are standing in the decoys, like Wade Shoemaker.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, that was a little slough. We were hunting right off of kind of a big chunk of water there, and they wanted in that spot bad. The funny thing is, I normally would never complain about this ever, and it sounds stupid, but I think this is one of the few ducks that wasn't a pintail that came in. your one pintail, and then we had probably another 150, 200 that were landing in the decoys, and we had shot our 6 at that point. So it was just kind of a, sightseeing expedition. You get already, and it's like, oh, those are just pintails. Dang it. I sat and stopped and said, like, huh. Like, I don't think I've ever said that before.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people have said that this year. From what Dan and I both have heard, is that there's been a lot of pintails, and a lot of guys, even in Minnesota, have shot a lot of pintails this year. And I don't know if numbers are actually up, or if it's just something weird with the migration or not. But I feel like people are seeing a lot of pintails this year.
Yeah, a lot of for some reason, a lot of specks and a lot of pintails. I've seen more specks than I have in years up here. So. It's kind of fun. I enjoy it. I remember when I was a kid, it was that elusive pintail, or even younger. It was like, oh man, there's a pintail. Like, whoa, I hope to get my one this year, much less like one per day. So it's fun. It's, anytime that ducks are doing it right, I don't really care if I'm shooting at them or not.
That's right. I know it's fun. And I've hunted a few times this year. I probably hunted more with a camera than I have with a shotgun this year. And I'm just, as much as I like shooting them, I like eating them. Even pheasant hunting, I've carried the camera a lot too, but because I'm just like, I'm kind of obsessed with getting the shot, either video or still. Now I'm kind of obsessed with it. And so half the time I'm like, you shoot, I'll just film, or I'll take pictures this time around. And then if I get a couple of shots, or if it's really low light and I'm not, getting good footage, then I'll pick up the shotgun and do some shooting at that point. But I got this new Canon. I'm obsessed with it, Ben.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I feel you there. It's for me, it's until, especially when I'm pheasant hunting or, bird hunting of some sort, and then people start missing over my dogs. That shotgun comes out really quick.
It's funny you say that, because I've been trying to get some certain shots, and I am working on some projects that I need some footage and some stills for. So there's been a couple of shots I've been trying to get, and that's, getting some duck kills on camera. And I'll focus, like a flock of birds will come in, and I'll focus on, the best one, and I'll just follow it. And then, guys will shoot the birds on either side of it. Or they'll miss. I don't know how many misses on singles. I'll follow the single in and be like, I'll have it in frame. It'll be, it'll perfect slow-mo, this and that. It's just doing it just right. It's flipping upside down. And then just like 8 shots go off and the bird flies away. You just see wads go whipping past the camera, But that's just the way she goes. It's a lot of fun. Do you have some other trips coming up planned, or what?
Yeah. It's, I'm at a little lull here. We're going to go, the opener going on right now. So be out there. And then after that, I'm going to try to get in last minute grouse hunt here. And I'm actually going to hop across the border. I kind of like to give Minnesota, like the deer hunters there, give them the woods during the first 2 weeks in November. And so I'm going to hop over the border into Wisconsin and actually go chase them over there. Probably some of the best grouse numbers I've seen in years right now.
Really?
And I don't know. Yeah. I don't know when, because we are right now, technically we should be on the first year of the down cycle, but we must have had, the spring was traditionally not great. It was a cold, wet spring. So theoretically the numbers should have been down, but kind of what the thought is those birds maybe just delayed delayed nesting a little bit. And then we must have had the right conditions, because I have I haven't seen bird numbers this good in a long time. So, and I don't know if we might not see the same thing for 10 years, 9 years, and who knows what it's going to look like then. A decade is a long time. So, I'm treating it like, hey, these are the best bird numbers I'll ever see. Whether that's true or not, I'm treating it like that. So
that's your excuse anyway, that you tell your wife, right? Hey, I gotta go. Could be the best of my life, honey. Gotta go.
That's a good thing for any hunt, right? Like, hey, I today. I got a feeling.
And I've heard a lot of people say that grouse numbers are pretty good this year. And when I was in Saskatchewan, I saw a few up there. And then one hunter has told me numbers were down in his area. Otherwise, I've heard pretty positive things. And actually, Dan and I went on a little adventure with Corey Loeffler a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. We went walking through the woods, and ultimately, we were going to duck hunt. But we had to trudge through some really thick brush in northern Minnesota, and we ended up putting up more. We never made it to the water. We'll just say that right now. We never made it there. But we were a little limited on time, and it was a little harder getting through the woods than we thought it would be. But we ended up putting up a bunch of grouse. Now, we didn't really see them, which is typical. And we put up a bunch of woodcock, actually, and my brain was not on woodcock mode yet, and I flushed one in front of me, and I just kind of, and this happened to me. Actually, Ben, the other day, I was hunting with my brother and another guy in western Minnesota. We were in the prairie, and we were actually hunting a waterfowl production area, pheasant hunting, and we were going around a willow thicket. My brother was on the far side, and we were putting up some pheasants and whatever, and all of a sudden I hear my brother yell, and by the time my brain comprehended what word he yelled at me, this woodcock was at eye level about 6 feet away from me, coming right at me. And the same thing, it was like in slow motion, like you just like once a year I see woodcock here in the prairie in western Minnesota. And this was apparently the one time. So my brain had to switch gears. And by the time I had figured out that that's something I want to shoot, he was getting out there, and I took a long shot at him and missed. But I watched him. He flew about 100 yards and then dropped into a small cattail slough. So turned around, headed back, went straight after him, put him up on the edge of the slough, shot once, missed, shot again, and he kind of fluttered, flew a few feet, and then landed awkwardly. And I was like, okay, I think I hit this bird. I think so. And so I had Tiny and then this other guy my buddy was with, and we headed deep into the middle of that slough and put up a couple of pheasants out of there. And then all of a sudden I could hear like a wing flap or two, and my dog was right on it. And I walked up, and there, buried as deep as it could go, was that woodcock. And so I shot a woodcock in the prairie. Other than we filmed an episode of Prairie Sportsman around Brainerd a couple of years ago with Matt Soberg and Hank Shaw, and shot a couple of woodcock there. But other than those woodcock, I couldn't tell you the last time I shot one. And to shoot one out here like that, I think is pretty unique. And they don't have a lot of scent. So I was actually kind of impressed that Tiny found that bird, but I'm guessing it just had a little bit of movement. She probably heard it, I suppose. But found it buried in those cattails. But the old elusive prairie timber doodle.
I would, if I had to make a living on hunting doodles on the prairie, I would be poor.
I chased one a couple years ago out here. I was out pheasant hunting by myself, and I've put one up out of this willow thicket again, and it flew again not far to another willow thicket. I bet I went back and forth chasing that thing for about 3 hours. It just kept flying back and forth, and I kept missing. I never did get that one, but it's almost like a trophy bird when you see them out here,
Oh yeah, for sure. They're fun critters, man. Like, they're just so interesting. They look goofy as heck, but I mean, they're a blast to hunt. They're great for dog work. So, it's a nice bonus when you're out grouse hunting. Or when you're out pheasant hunting on the prairie.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and it was the easiest bird I've plucked all season. I plucked the whole thing because I could hear Hank Shaw. Because I asked Hank Shaw when we shot those woodcock in Brainerd, I asked him, how should I cook these? He goes, well, pluck them first of all. The first thing you got to do is pluck them. And his voice was in the back of my head after I shot this one the other day. He's like, you better pluck that. Or I'm like, Hank's going to find out if I don't pluck this one. So Easiest bird I've plucked, and looking forward to enjoying that one. But hearing those grouse flush through the woods kind of reignited a little bit of a desire to go chase those birds around, Ben. I'd assume most of the leaves are down up there now. Hunting is getting a little bit easier for them.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, all the leaves should be down now. Woodcock, I would say, you might catch a straggler or two hanging around, but it's pretty much just going to be grouse hanging around now. So, yeah, it's prime time. Like I say, I like to give deer hunters a little time so you're not interrupting their hunts. But after even in the third week of the season up north, you start venturing around. Also, I don't want my dogs to get shot or have any confrontations. But you can hop over to Wisconsin. Their deer season doesn't open until the third weekend in November, so you can go hunt over there. But if you're wanting to do a little grouse hunting, man, this is the season to do it.
It's so hard to decide what to do because this time, especially this time of year, it's so good. Like the rut, I know you got some rut reports coming out from OnX, and so I'm probably going to sit in the tree a little bit. Waterfowl is going to get going right now. It's a tough time to decide what to do, Ben.
It is. I kind of have it. I think I've got it down to a science, at least a science for me now. October is solely reserved for grouse hunting. I broke it the last 2 years, but
and it sounds like this year too.
Yeah, I broke it. Yeah, dang it. I'll try to make a trip out to North Dakota as well, but I try not to hunt pheasants until November because, heck, we have November, December, January to hunt pheasants and really October to chase after grouse. Give a week, 2 week gap early November for deer hunting. And then it's back to roosters and start traveling and hunting quail and all this other species. So, but October is for grouse.
You need to put together a master class on scheduling your hunting species, like planning out your fall a little bit.
Yeah.
You did a bunch of master classes with OnX. Can people go back and watch those now?
Yeah, for sure. So if you go to our YouTube channel, OnX Hunt on YouTube, put out a number of good master classes. We did scouting and hunting for rough grouse and woodcock, pheasants, quail, ducks, and geese. So, they're great. We had a number of great guests from, Corey Loeffler, a familiar face and voice around here. Tom Carpenter from Pheasants Forever, he came on and helped us out with the pheasant one. Chad Love of Quail Forever, he was on as well. So some really, really knowledgeable folks. Actually, we did another one on prairie grouse, Huns, Sharpies, etc. with Tyler Webster and Marissa Jensen. So just like some people that really, really know their stuff. So it was fun to get a chat with them, and they were received very well. So if you want to go back, there's the Quail Masterclass hanging out right there. So they're about an hour and a half long, tons of information. If you're wanting to learn more, I would suggest checking those out.
All right, Ben. Well, good luck the rest of fall. I want to have you back on in December. We're going to be in Alaska, so I'll get some. Yeah, I know. I can't wait. Have you been to Alaska?
I did. I went a couple summers ago, but not for hunting.
Oh, you went with Corey, actually, didn't you?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that looked like no fun at all, that trip, by the way. No. I'm jealous. I know that he goes up there and gets that salmon. I've been able to. He's cooked some of that salmon for me. I'm gonna have to get back up there and do some fishing. But I've had waterfowl hunting in Alaska is number one on my bucket list, and we're going to Kodiak Island here in December, and I'm jacked.
That should be an awesome time. I've had some coworkers and friends that have done it, and yeah. It's a bucket list trip for a reason.
They went to Kodiak. What did they tell you about it?
That there were as many ducks as they wanted to shoot.
Yeah. I know, like a harlequin has been kind of a bucket list duck for me. And you talk to anybody that's gone to Alaska or Kodiak and especially the locals up there, from what I hear, they say they call them rock ducks or whatever. They're like, yeah, they're everywhere. You want to shoot one of those? Like, it's not much of a challenge up there.
Yeah, exactly. So, especially with those Harleys now, I believe that the state of Washington shut hunting down for harlequin this year. So, I am pretty sure the only place you can go now is Alaska.
You might be right on that.
So,
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll see. I know some guys went and did the same trip that we're doing last year, and I think they shot 15 different species up there. So I'm just, like the duck hunting, honestly, it's a duck hunting trip, but the duck hunting is just the bonus. I'm just excited for the adventure. It's like 3 plane rides, and we're going to spend 2 weeks in Alaska. This will be my first trip to Alaska. So, and I'm going to be recording a lot of, I bought 5 hard drives for this trip. Like I plan on filming a lot and, probably filming way more than I need to.
well, I'm excited to live vicariously through you.
Yeah, well, we'll send you lots of pictures. All right, let's talk again in December. Anyway, I know you got some late season hunting trips planned, and we'll talk about some late season some tips. And if you're planning some trips to go other states when our season's closed here, where do you go? What do you do? The hunting season doesn't have to end, so we'll talk to you more about how you plan for out of state trips coming up in December. Ben Brettingen, OnX. Thanks for the time today on the show.
Awesome. Have a good fall, everyone.
852 million acres of public land, 147 million private properties.
All in the palm of your hand. The #1 hunting GPS app just got better. With hundreds of custom map layers, 3D and topographic maps, you can easily scout on the road or at home before you go. And now you can get important weather details, CWD detection, and even know what crops have been planted where. Get the most trusted hunting GPS app ever made. OnX. Know where you stand with OnX. Ice fishing season is here. This winter, plan a trip to Devil's Lake, North Dakota. Not only will you have the chance to catch their legendary perch, but this year, Haybale Heights has been catching big walleye after big walleye. And they're doing it from a mobile, comfortable snow bear. No matter how cold it is outside, you're warm and toasty on the inside. Learn more and book a trip today at haybaleheights.com. That's haybaleheights.com. Well, here we are in the middle of hunting season. It's my favorite time of the year. There are still guys catching fish out there. And I every day, Dan and I talk about it. Gosh, we should probably go fishing today. And then we either get too busy with work or I go hunting. And it just doesn't work out. But what ends up happening for me is I'm going to hunt until ice fishing season is here, and then I'll probably get excited about fishing again. And to talk about ice fishing Lake of the Woods, Joe Henry from Lake of the Woods Tourism is going to join us right now. Joe, how you doing?
Well, I tell you, we are talking ice fishing, but I will say there are a lot of deer and a lot of big deer up at Lake of the Woods with hundreds of thousands of acres of public land. So I would just say to everybody, if you don't have a real good spot to go deer hunting, there's a real good opportunity to start a deer hunting tradition up at Lake of the Woods. You know, Beltrami Island State Forest, Pine Island State Forest. I can go on and on, but when I talk about hundreds of thousands of acres of public hunting land, and there's a lot of deer. I mean, you know, it amazes me, Brett, when you drive down the road in the spring, you know, there's a lot of snow, but like the plowed fields melt first, and you have that patchy snow and then black dirt. When I tell you that I see literally hundreds of deer in each field, I'm not exaggerating one iota. I mean, there's so many deer up there, and you know, I know there are wolves up there, and there's coyotes and stuff. There's predators, but I think that you're close enough to population. I think, and agriculture maybe that it's not such an imbalance. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the biggest thing is you've got a lot of ag up there. I mean, you've got big patches of wood and bog. You've got a lot of cover and a lot of habitat there, but then you've got so much ag that it's like big giant food plots for those deer. So there's a lot of habitat, a lot of food, and a lot of cover. And yeah, you've got some predators up there, but you've got so much habitat and food for them that it allows, I think, for big populations. And of course, you got guys that deer hunt them up there too, and they got a lot of areas that guys chase them around. But yeah, there's tons of public land where you could chase them around. It gets a little thick up there. I went on an adventure up there recently through some of that public land, Joe, and I mean, there's actually a lot of trails. I was actually kind of surprised that there's a lot of walking trails and I think maybe some ATV trails maybe through some of those woods that you can get on and walk for miles on. But when you head through the middle of it, sometimes it gets a little thick.
Oh, it can be super thick, yeah. And, you know, but I mean, that's also where, you know, a tree stand or setting up a ground blind on the edge of that thick stuff is good. You know, and those trails are what makes the grouse hunting so great. Not only do you have public land, but then you got, trails to walk through that thick stuff if you don't like, being a bushwhacker. And because it is, that stuff is thick. It's thick. But that's also what produces good cover for all the wildlife.
That's right. Yeah. And so a guy could go up there and do some casting, blasting, and then get ready for early ice. And Joe, it's a unique area up there when it comes to ice fishing. Just there, such a big lake, so many things that you can do, and so many resorts out there. And it's good just to be in communication with the people that are up there watching that ice every day, so you can know what's safe and what's not.
Well, I'll tell you, it's funny because, so if you think about it, we're right up on the Canadian border, so we're quite a bit further north. So even like when we have a warm winter, we're still ice fishing in December. We're still ice fishing into early March. Now, when we have a normal winter, we're ice fishing sometimes the end of November and oftentimes through the whole month of March. We have not everybody knows, but our walleye season, because we're border water with Canada, our walleye season is extended all the way to April 14th. Our fish houses don't have to be off the ice until March 31st. So we get a whole extra month plus of ice fishing. And I think the other thing that's interesting is now Mother Nature always dictates, is always safety first. But, as a rule, you get towards that end of November and you're going to get some of the resorts that do spearing for pike in those back bays, and they're going to be, marking trails out to their spear houses. And then right around, I'd like to use a date of about December 10th is when, on average, give or take, when resorts will start getting their day houses out. Now, a day house being a house that you ice fish out of, it's heated, it's a hard-sided house, but it doesn't have the big bunk beds and things like that. And then, later in the year, usually right around Christmas is when they start allowing, different sized vehicles to drive out and such. Now, always dictated on Mother Nature. It's dictated on wind, how the ice forms. So you could have one resort that's saying, hey, we're letting out, snowmobiles and ATVs right now. And you could have open water on another shoreline where there's another resort. So you really have to lean on the resort or the provider of a fish house service for how their trail is and what they're allowing out, because every area of Lake of the Woods is very different.
Man, and I know a lot of guys like to go up there and do it themselves or whatever, but how easy is it just to go up there and, jump in one of those day houses from a resort up there? You don't have to tow a house up. You don't have to tow a snowmobile up, whatever. You can just hop in. You can use some of their gear if you want, or bring your own fishing gear. It just makes life easier, I think.
I'll tell you, it kind of depends upon the crew you have too. If you're hardcore and you want to go out on sleds and go chasing walleyes, that's one thing. But I'll tell you what, you want to talk about a relaxing, easy vacation. You drive up there. Your fish house is going to be on fish the next day. The holes are drilled. It's heated. Literally, you wake up, either you drive out or they'll take you out to your fish house. First thing you do is take your jacket off. It's 70 degrees inside. And you fish all day. It's like a living room. And, the resorts will check on you throughout the day to make sure everything's going good. And, at the end of the day, again, either you drive yourself back in or they'll pick you up. But it's kind of cool, too. Most of those resorts will clean your fish for you. And your job is really to go to happy hour or go back to the cabin and enjoy your friends and family. I mean, that's kind of how it rolls. Well, then the other thing that's interesting is, if you're staying at a resort, a lot of the resorts that have a restaurant, they'll cook your fish for you.
Yeah.
And it's for a small fee. They do their catch, but they use their famous batter, they use their famous tartar sauces, and then of course all the fixins. And I'll tell you what, man, a good fresh fish fry of walleyes and saugers and maybe a few jumbo perch mixed in, maybe even eel pout, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, nothing at all. And I will bring, I'll bring my rods and my electronics, and I'll bring my jigs or whatever that I want to use. But it is nice to jump in a heated house. A lot of times get transported right to the house for you, especially on a lake like. And for me, that's a 6-hour drive. So it's not like I'm on that lake every day or fishing it, multiple times throughout the year. Usually it's 1 or 2 trips up there each year, and it's just nice for me to jump in a house that's ready to go.
Well, hard-sided house too. If it's a 40-mile-an-hour wind, it sure is nice being in a hard-sided house. It makes life so darn easy. I've been on Lake of the Woods for that when it's been blowing like that in the winter.
Oh. And you go outside and it's like the frozen tundra. You can't see anything, and you go inside and you're in a t-shirt because it's 75 degrees.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's also nice. It's where it's nice to lean on the resorts. You know, if there's really if there's a blizzard coming in or something, they're going to pull you off the ice early. They're going to lead you off, and I've been let off in a caravan before, but they got your back, and that's the bottom line. You know what? I'll tell you the other thing that's kind of neat about going up there. You know, there's that local tackle company up there, Tom's Tackle, and they make ice fishing gear specific to Lake of the Woods and that stained water, and just seeing the variety of lures you have when you go to the different bait shops or the different resorts that you don't have everywhere. Have you noticed that?
Oh, yeah. And when it's somebody local making the tackle, they're making stuff that works on their local lake. So he's making stuff specifically for Lake of the Woods up there.
Exactly. Yeah, and there's some summer tackle there, but I mean, the ice fishing stuff they do is, things you maybe heard of, like the stop sign.
The stop sign. Oh, yeah.
Yep. And how about the pink charmer? I mean, those are all very, very, those are names associated with Lake of the Woods, but they're coming from that small tackle company. Hey, don't get me wrong. The other tackle, I use all the tackle. I won't go on and on because I'll miss one, but I use it all, and it all works up there. But they use some things specifically, with rattles, with shapes, with colors that are very specific to that stained water, and sometimes that's a nice little edge.
Well, I remember one of the first trips I took up there, somebody was catching all the walleyes on a stop sign, and I'd never heard of a stop sign before. I was like, what? I don't know what this is. So I remember the next year, I think on my way up, I think we stopped in Greenbush. That's where I started my search for the stop sign. And every place we went along the way, I stopped and looked for one of those stop signs, and I finally got one and caught fish on it up there.
Well, it's interesting, so and again, this isn't, but this small local company, just kind of unique because they have a huge trailer. What they do is they drive around and keep the local area down to Red Lake and kind of but they keep the local bait shops within a certain geographic area kind of stocked with tackle. It's interesting. You can order online too, and that's the one way to get it if you are from out of the area or don't make it up to the area very, very often. But they got some pretty good things, and another thing I really enjoy using up there is it's one of my main go-tos now is a rip and wrap, a Rapala rip and wrap, and that's that lipless crankbait that has rattles in it, and it's shiny. When you pull it up, it's got vibration, it's got the rattles. When you're talking about stained water, if those fish are active, they're going to come up and smoke that thing. Now, if they're not active, you're ripping that lure under that ice, and that's pulling fish in, even if they're in a neutral mode. Well, even if they come in and just look at it or get attracted to it, well, now they're attracted to your dead sticks with your live minnow, and they might sit and watch your live minnow and your bobber goes down. But that fish potentially wouldn't have been there if you wouldn't have, been using a rip and wrap and pulled it in. So there's some different techniques, and there you're showing in this case a live target, but those lipless crankbaits are very effective under the ice. Again, even if they're not whacking them, a lot of times you're drawing fish in. It's nice if one person in the house can at least try one to see if it's making a difference.
Well, what's going on the Rainy right now? Are people finding fish?
They are finding fish, yeah. Yep. And, this is the week before deer hunting. And even the week during and after deer hunting when everybody's in the woods, there's always some really big walleyes caught. And, they've been catching them up and down the river. But I'll tell you, around Bret right now, there's a lot of walleyes, a lot of nice walleyes. I mean, I can't tell you how many pictures I've seen with the International Bridge in the background, and people hold up nice walleyes. And so that whole stretch, but I also know they're getting them all the way up to Birchdale, and I know they're getting them down at, where the resorts are at the Wheeler's Point area. But there's still fishing to be had there. And, I know for a fact most people are going to be in the woods, and they're looking towards ice fishing at this point. But I will tell you that there's going to be some big fish caught between now and ice up probably in, mid to late November. I'm guessing probably late November for the river.
Well, if people want to learn more about making a fall trip to the Rainy or thinking about early ice at Lake of the Woods, what should they do, Joe?
You know what? Best source of info is our website, and that is lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
Come ice fish the famous waters of Minnesota's Lake of the Woods, the walleye capital of the world. Experience full-service resorts featuring heated fish houses, ice transportation, meal plans, and sleeper house options. From the northwest angle to the south shore, Rainy River and Baudette, the Midwest's #1 ice fishing destination. Walleye, sauger, perch, and northern pike. Minnesota's Lake of the Woods, best fishing anywhere. For more information, log on to lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
All right, so a couple of months ago, we were doing this show. Dan and I, we were in a boat, and we were recording this podcast. We were in the boat with Randin Olson from Lockjaw Guide Service, and Dan caught a muskie. And we're going to try to get interrupted by a muskie once again. Randin Olson joins us here on the show from the lake. He's in the boat. And first of all, we just got to say one thing, Randin. How many muskies have you caught this fall?
We're at 53 in the last, basically, a little over a month.
53.
54, I'm sorry. 50, just let one go. 54.
Yeah, 54th today. I mean, that sounds like an absurd number to me. That's got to be the best fall you've ever had.
Last fall we had 76, but I started a little bit earlier and I made it to Thanksgiving.
Okay, wow, 76 is pretty good too. All right, that also seems like an absurd number. So you're in the boat. You just released one, is that right?
Yeah, about maybe 45 minutes ago. We just let a 48-incher go.
Oh, that's cool.
Neat story. The little tangles on his hoodie got caught in the reel, so it was kind of a fiasco getting it into the net, but we got it.
Because you got clients in the boat right now, right?
Yep.
All right. Have they done any muskie fit? Can we interview them? Are they okay with being on the show?
Are you guys okay with it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. What's your names? Virginia, and who are you with there?
Virginia.
Doug.
I'm not a good
All right. Virginia and Doug. All right. So is that your first muskie? Who caught the last one there?
It was a team effort.
Team effort. And that muskie fishing usually is. And Randin does a good job of getting you on those fish. And then you got to fight it. So it was your hoodie, Doug, that got caught in the reel?
This thing almost lost me a fish.
That's awesome. Where are you guys from? Perham. Okay, cool. Well, thanks for being on the show. Good luck the rest of the day. Hopefully we get interrupted in this podcast by one of you guys putting another muskie in the boat right there. Randin, so 70-some muskies last year, 50-some muskies this year. Do you think you'll break last year's number?
I don't know. I only got about a week or so left here, unless some more people call, I guess, and the weather gets nice. But I think we've had more big fish this year, so it might end up being about a wash.
Yeah, I don't care what you're talking about. Anytime you get over a 40-inch fish, that's a nice fish, but everybody wants a 50-inch muskie, and while you've had a lot of mid-40s and upper 40s, you did get into some 50s recently, didn't you?
Yeah, we've had 5 of them in the boat now. Biggest is 51, so we're hoping to beat that today, but we'll see what happens. The lakes have been really good. The casting bite's been terrible, but the sucker bite's been really good.
Is that pretty typical this time of year?
Yeah, it's the little warm spells like today, you got to be casting because those fish will pull up shallow on you. We've had a couple follows today chasing back, and then they go look at the suckers. But this time of year, when that water gets to be mid-40s and lower, they really want a big chunk of meat down there.
So you'll guide muskies for another week or so, and then when you're done guiding, will you just go out and fish for them, or do you start changing gears a little bit?
If the water's open, I'm going after them, man. I ain't gonna. Somebody's got to harass.
That's right. And you guide ice fishing too, so when do you think you'll be getting out there on the ice?
Generally the week or two before Christmas, we're getting the houses out and getting everything set in place and ready to rock and roll. So we're already booked up for New Year's this year, but we got some openings after that for the ice castles.
Do you mainly target walleyes with that, or do you chase panfish too?
Oh, we do anything we can get after. If you want to chase pike, we can put them on pike. We can mostly, I would say we're probably concentrate more on the walleyes and the panfish, but we'll kind of chase anything.
Well, let's get back to fishing right now. I know you're fishing for muskies, but what are conditions like? Like, what are water temps like right now? What are you seeing out there?
We've been basically sitting at about 47, 48 degrees for about the last week and a half. Ever since that cold snap came in, we dropped fast, and now we've just kind of leveled out. So it's kind of generic fishing this time of year. You're looking for those weed beds that kind of meet up to hard bottom spots. Like if you can find a rock pile off the tip of a point with a weed point sitting out, there's going to be fish there. And the other real easy thing this time of year is if you find bait fish, you'll find a muskie. Just keep going over them. Timing is everything right now. The feeding windows are short, but they're intense. So 3 days ago, we caught 4 muskies, and they were basically 1 and 2, 1 and 2 right away. And then we went about 2 hours with nothing, and then we caught 2 again right away again. So short and intense feeding windows. You got to be in a spot with multiple fish on it and be ready to go when they're going.
How are they relating to majors and minors?
So about a week and a half ago, they flipped the switch on me, and they're going nothing but majors and minors. So the in-between times are pretty dead. You're seeing fish, they're just not quite ready to rock, and then you hit a major or minor, and they're going nuts. So be on your best spots during those majors and minors.
If you were going to go walleye fishing tomorrow, what would you do?
I went walleye fishing yesterday and zeroed, so I don't know what I'd do. Whatever.
Well, that happens sometimes, even to the guides.
That's right.
All right. Well,
I'd probably focus on those deeper stretches of shoreline. Same kind of thing. If you can find bait, you're going to find some fish, and just slow down. I think people want to get a little fast this time of year. You just really got to slow down.
Oh, you're not trolling at 4 miles an hour this time of year, Randin?
No, not this time of year. We're cutting it back, maybe 3.
Gosh. Do you have people water ski while you're trolling for walleyes ever, or?
We might have to try that next year. Get the kneeboard, the water ski.
Man. All right. Well, we'll let you get back to your clients there. Have you marked any fish since we've been on the show?
I have not. We're still probably 50 yards away from we had a little 3-pack in here earlier today, and I was hoping they'd get there in time, but I don't know if we're on.
Well, we'll talk real slow for the next.
Keep going. Make small talk.
50 yards, because we got to hit that. We got to keep you on here while you're going through that spot. Do you maybe have Doug tuck his hoodie strings inside his hoodie? Already did. That's awesome. Have you?
Yeah, I was trying to net that fish, and I'm like, reel, pull it in, and couldn't figure out why I wasn't getting any closer until I got it in the net and looked back, and the handles are all messed up.
Was the rod in one piece at least?
The rod was in one piece, so that helped tremendously.
Did you tell him that I broke a rod?
Oh, yeah.
Set the hook like you're going to break the rod. Okay. Snap.
I did say set it like you're going to break the rod, not.
Oh, you didn't want me to actually break it. My bad. Sorry about that. So you put the one in the boat today. Have you been seeing a lot of fish?
Yeah, we're about, what are we at today? I don't know, 9 or 10 fish we've seen.
Something like that.
Yep.
They've been fairly active. We just got that one to commit so far. That's it. So
But all big fish too.
yeah, we haven't seen any real small ones. They've all been pretty dang big. So we're hoping to burn through what I got left in the live well here for bait.
Are you keeping an eye on your prop?
The one we caught came up to look at the prop. We seen it back there in the live scope. We reeled a sucker up. It kind of moved on a little bit, ate it. We got all set up, just about to set the hook, and it spit it out. And then we doubled back, and he ate it again. And
oh wow,
that was the big mistake he made that time.
I love cooperative fish.
What are the suckers named today?
What was that one named?
Consuelo.
Oh, all right.
What name did we have?
Gary and Larry. Larry for left or something.
Consuelo. We need to be more creative in our.
Well, I don't know. We caught fish.
We did catch fish. That's very true. All right. So do you? I know you make a lot of your own lures, Randin. You need to make some sort of. What's the name of the one with the musket ball?
Oh, Tinkerbell.
Tinkerbell. Yeah, you need to make some form of Tinkerbell that hangs off your prop. Something that's got a little more attractant to it.
What?
Right?
Bring all the fish in.
I got a little 6-inch sucker hanging right by the prop now. I learned my lesson.
And just hang them right off the back of the boat. That's like, it's prop wash, right? It's kind of like fishing in the prop wash.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. How close to the spot are we, Randin?
We're just about there.
All right. The anticipation is killing all of our listeners right now. All right, Randin Olson, Lockjaw Guide Services, with us right now. You saw 3 fish in this spot earlier?
Yep. We had the one followed for, I don't know what it was, 20 minutes or so. Just wouldn't quite commit. So we're right in our minor right now. 3:26 is moonrise. So we're about, 10 minutes away from that happening, and we're ready for them.
That was my next question, is where we're at for majors and minors. We're in a minor right now, and to set the scene, if for those of you just tuning in, you have 2 suckers behind the boat.
Yep.
And tell us how you rigged those up.
Kind of see one of the bobbers. I'm terrible at the cameraman, man.
There it is.
There they are. So you've got...
It's a quick strike rig. I got a second rod here. So it's just a nose clip, and then with 2 leads going down to the hooks right there. So I do my rigs a little different. Are you laughing at my camera work? I'm terrible. It's like driving. It's like the opposite of driving a tiller. I'm trying to go the other way with it all.
And then you got that on a bobber, and it's almost like a slip bobber, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, I like to run slip bobbers. Big reason I like bobbers is when I troll back up on that fish, I can see that bobber. That bobber's at least whatever I set it at, 8-10 feet above that fish. That way I kind of know how much line's out, and I kind of got an idea where that fish is going, what direction he's heading, and make sure I get the best possible angle on him to set the hook.
All right, I'm just waiting for one of the bobbers there. Yeah.
I know.
Man. All right. Well,
I don't know if anything will strike twice or not, but it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Well, people can go back and watch our show from October. When were we out there? October?
Right after duck opener, so it probably aired September. I don't know what day was duck opener. I don't know.
September 25th.
Either the last week. I don't remember. It's show like 525 or 526. It's titled Musky Fishing on Air. You can find it on sportingjournalradio.com or our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, share, and comment, please.
Check it out on YouTube, Sporting Journal Radio, and watch us catch a muskie on the podcast.
We have a full video of that coming whenever I have time. At some point.
That's right.
It's coming, I promise.
I did want to tell you, Mr. Underbite, we've gotten him about, it's 6 times now this year. So 3 times that week you guys were up. 3 more times since then.
I'd like to do a study on that fish's brain.
Oh, it's very small.
Well, either that or it's just ginormous because it knows it gets a nice
Free
sucker
meal.
every time.
And released.
Yeah.
We caught it. It was so funny because I ended up setting the hook on this fish and fought this fish and brought it in. And as soon as it got in the net, Randin knew what are they, 47 3/4? How big is he?
Yep.
47. Immediately he goes 47 3/4. Now I know when you fished long enough for a certain species, you can eyeball and pretty much get it pretty close to a measurement, especially somebody like you, Randin, that's in the boat every day, catching these fish every day. I'm like, well, that's pretty good. Like, but man, so the 3/4 part is what threw me off. I'm like 47 3/4. Like you'd say, oh, it's a 47 or that's a 48 or whatever. 47 3/4, and you knew it because it was underbite, and you could tell because it had a pretty significant underbite with his jaw, and you had caught that fish the day before. That's crazy.
Yeah, he's added some weight. He's probably about 10, 12 pounds heavier now than he was when we got him.
Holy smokes. Jeez. And that's...
Because he keeps eating all your suckers. That's why.
6 times this year.
The picture of Scotty Brew that you showed, that was him again.
Oh, it was?
About a week ago, yep.
Oh, yeah.
He's gained quite a bit of weight.
Look at that.
It doesn't even look like the same fish at all unless you pick up on that mouth.
Holy smokes.
Fatty.
I thought that was Scott in that picture right there. When did you fish? When did you get a chance? Did you fish with him and Kyle, or did just Scott come out? Or
it was Scotty and Adam. And Adam took the first shot, and it ended up being a northern, so he wasted his turn.
Was it a good northern at least?
I think it was a 34 or 35 incher, so it was a nice one. But
nice. That's a good fish right there, man. I can't believe how much heavier he is. That's insane.
Yeah.
So 6 times this year that you've caught him, but you had caught him like 14 times by the time that we caught him when I was with you. So he's got to be up to close to 20 catches.
Yeah, he's right in there. And kind of interesting story. A guy had reached out after I posted Scotty's picture and asked me, he said, "Is that underbite?" And I didn't know anybody else knew that fish, but he said he caught him 3 times this summer alone. So,
well, tell me that catch and release doesn't work, right?
That's right.
Man, that's amazing. We should just do a Prairie Sportsman episode just about underbite, just to see and put it out there, just see how many people have caught that fish. Man, that's pretty cool. All right, well, Randin, we'll let you get back with your clients there. Good luck to you guys in the boat today. Lockjaw Guide Service, Randin Olson, thanks for the time today on the show.
Thank you, guys. I'll make sure and send you some pictures if we get one here 2 minutes after we hang up.
That's probably what'll happen.
Call back in.
All right, Randin, thanks a lot.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Sporting Journal Radio is a division of Macaba LLC. If you've got a question, comment, or story idea for us, send us an email. Go to sportingjournalradio.com. While you're there, you can learn how to advertise on the show and visit our store for hats, hoodies, coffee mugs, and more. Go to sportingjournalradio.com.